Hi everyone, Colin the Train Fanatic here, and it's time we get this final part of my top 12 retired steam excursion stars done. So, here we go with part number 3. Grand Trunk Western 6325. This is a U3B 484 Northern type built in 1942 by the American Locomotive Company for the Grand Trunk Western Railroad. 6325 hold heavy passenger and freight work for the Grand Trunk Western. In 1946, it was gained notoriety for pulling USA President Harry Truman's election campaign train throughout the state of Michigan. Retired in 1959 after the railroad decided to replace it with diesel power, this 484 Northern was put on display in the city of Battle Creek, Michigan, where it almost had a failed attempt to be restored and left it in danger of being scrapped. However, it was purchased by Jerry Jacobson of the Ohio Central Railroad, and it was restored to operation. At its time in the new home of the Ohio Central Railroad, 6325 had done many excursions, as well as two photo run-bys alongside with former Canadian Pacific 462 1293, even running a few double headers. 6325 was the star of the Ohio Central Railroad for running alongside many other locomotives, such as the Ohio Central Railroad's own F7 diesels. One thing I like about this engine that it was featured in railway productions Steam in the Autumn, Steam in the Spring, and Steam in the Winter. 6325 had steamed well on the Ohio Central Railroad, but sadly in 2005 the locomotive had developed a hot axle bearing, which sadly had it removed from pulling passenger service on the Ohio Central Railroad. Today, 6325 remained in storage at the Age of Steam Roundhouse, waiting for a future to return to steam. Number 2. Norfolk Western Class A number 1218. Number 1218 was a 4-cylinder, simple articulated locomotive built in June of 1943 by the Norfolk Western's Roanoke shops. The 1218 pulled heavy freight and coal on the Norfolk Western's Allegheny Mountain route. This engine worked on the N&W for a number of years until it was retired in 1959 and was purchased by Union Carbide Co. in Charleston, West Virginia. Yet were set alongside its sister locomotives as stationary boilers in a chemical plant, until eventually this locomotive would be returned to the Roanoke Transportation Museum in Roanoke, Virginia. In 1982, when the Norfolk Western and Southern Railway had both merged, Norfolk Western Class A 1218 was eventually removed from display at the museum and taken to the Norfolk Southern shops. For restored to operating condition to pull excursion trains alongside N&W 611 and Southern Railway 4501. This engine had also participated in an NRHS convention held in St. Louis, Missouri, alongside with Frisco 1522, which was mentioned earlier. However, the NS decided to end their steam program, but the 1218 was scheduled for an overhaul. But sadly, it didn't get completed. The locomotive had to be disassembled and taken back to Roanoke, Virginia. It was stored at the Eastern shops. the year its overhaul was supposed to be completed. But eventually it was donated back to the museum, and it still sits on static display to this very day. I apparently really like this locomotive since it has been in some triple-headed excursions, but not only with N&W 611 and Southern Railway 4501, but it also had joined Nickel Plate Road 587. Alright, before we get to number 1, I like to include some honorable mentions. And now for my number 1 pick. Union Pacific Challenger 3967. Yep, the engine that started the excursions on the Union Pacific. Union Pacific 3967 was built in 1942 by the American Locomotive Company to pull freight and passenger trains through the mountain territory to California and Oregon. It was capability of hauling heavy passengers and freight at high speeds, much like the Nickel Plate Road Berkshires, such as 765. In May 17, 1953, this Challenger was chosen to run the Rocky Mountain Railroad Club excursion between Denver, Colorado, and Laramie, Wyoming. As the start of the UP's excursion program, and to help publicitate people of the golden age of passenger train travel. However, 3967 would never live to see these excursion runs at all. This Challenger operated its last revenue service run in 1957 and was eventually retired and then sold for scrap in March of 1960. But 3967's legacy hasn't quite disappeared from Earth yet. In May of 1993, its sibling locomotive 3985, masquerading as 3967, and to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the Rocky Mountain Railroad Club excursion. At this time, 3967 was equipped with smoke deflectors and was renumbered to portray its sibling locomotive. 3985 would eventually masquerade as 3967 again on May 17, 2003 for the 50th anniversary. We have the same run much later. Sometimes, or one time, 3985 actually masqueraded as a Challenger 3718, as if the locomotive would have been converted to burn oil during its days of revenue service. Even though the real 3967 is long gone, this locomotive makes it my top retired steam excursion star. And I hope you all enjoyed the video. This is Colin the Train Fanatic signing out.